Well, welcome back to another episode of LorcanaChats. I'm your host, Chris, aka Questing for Lore. And joining me today, I have the host of one of the longest running Lorcana podcasts out there, the Overexerted Podcast. Come listen in as I talk with James, Heath, and Benny all about their own experiences with TCGs, their show, and even a bit about some of the grumblings happening in the community right now. So let's get to it. Well, welcome, guys. Welcome, Overexerted Podcast. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. How are you
Hello.
doing?
Us. I mean, we're doing good, right?
Yeah.
Now that
Fantastic.
the technical difficulties are out of the way, so well, hopefully. No, well, cool. Well, cool. Yeah. So why don't y'all go ahead and introduce yourself? Well, James, you're in my top left up there. So if you want to go ahead and start it off.
I'm James, otherwise known as Dan Regal, just to make sure I'm confusing to everybody, apparently. I am a co-host of the Overexerted Podcast now, as of like 2 weeks ago.
Former citizens of Lorcana.
One of us.
Formerly of the Citizens of Lorcana, which is on extended hiatus. Not gone for good. We'll see when the podcast comes back, but I have confidence that Jared will be back, and then I will be back. And then maybe I'll be on 2 podcasts.
Well, don't you have 3? Don't you do the what's the conference one?
Oh, I do the blog. Yeah, I do the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog as well.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm on that all the time. Yeah, but that's only like during the season, so that's like 2.5 months out of the year.
Okay. All right. Cool. Benny, how about yourself?
I'm Benny. I'm a 35-year-old Aquarius. I enjoy long walks in Disney parks, video games, movies, football, and Lorcana. And I'm one of the creative minds behind the Overexerted Disney Lorcana podcast.
Nice.
Minds being, a loose term that we're using very graciously here. Hi, my name's Heath. I am also one of the co-hosts of the Overexerted Podcast, and on the side, I do my own little thing, which we will vaguely call somewhere adjacent to content creation.
It counts. It's good stuff.
It's technically.
Well, yeah. Well, cool. Well, so I like to, one of the first things that I do with my guests is I like to kind of get their origin story with Lorcana. Given the length that the podcast has been going on, I assume, a lot of y'all's experience is like from the very beginning, but I'll let you tell your stories. We can go in the same order if you want to. James, Benny, Heath.
Sure. So I found out about Lorcana the day the press release dropped back in August of 2022. I was paying attention to D23 information because I was going, and that, of course, meant I paid attention when that dropped. I'm like, hey, this looks interesting. And so when I found out more details and I saw, like, the day before, I saw the booth tour, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make sure that's the first place I go to in the morning because they have those cards and I want those cards. And basically, guess what? I'm here now with stuff on the wall, playing the game the entire time, doing a podcast from essentially from the beginning of 2023 all the way until now. I've been on a podcast. So yeah, I'd say that Lorcana has dominated my hobby life and everything else in some way for over 2 years now.
Nice. And your wallet, I assume.
Oh, of course. That's what that, you don't even have to mention that. Come on.
Nice.
Only sadness lies in that conversation.
Yeah, right.
All right. Benny, how about you?
Oh, you are muted, Benny.
I got into Lorcana around actually the same time. I was kind of on my phone one day and it came up D23 stuff. I was talking to one of my buddies that we've had on the podcast in the past. We were just talking about D23. Oh, did you see this? Did you see this? And then I go, yeah, this article just came up that said the newest Disney trading card game spotted at D23. And so instantly I was right in there because I was drawn in. I'd played like trading card games in the past, and so it was something that I enjoyed. Like I enjoy like the mental work that you have to put in to build the deck. I enjoy the strategy of seeing what your opponent's doing and trying to find an answer to it. So it was kind of all that, but like no trading card game really hooked me for more than 3 to 6 months. And then being that I love Disney, I figured, hey, I'll give this one a go and see how it is. And now I've been playing ever since.
Nice.
I don't know if we're supposed to see. Is anyone else seeing all of
Yes,
us?
I switched the view. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Just making sure I'm not going crazy because
No,
that has
you're good.
been
You're
known
good.
to happen.
I wanted y'all to be able to see each other all at the same time. So yeah.
And now we can see the order that it's in.
Yeah, that does help. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, Heath, how about you?
For myself, shamefully, I only came into the picture April of 23. Here's the thing, I'm gonna cop an excuse here, but I could never afford to go to the D23 events, so eventually I got sad and stopped signing up for D23 info, and in the worst time possible. Because when D23 first launched, like I can't remember how long ago it was, but it was a long time ago. I signed up for it at the time, and then I'd see these D23 events every couple of years. I'm like, and so I just eventually gave up on being a member with D23, and in the worst possible time. So fast forward to April of 23, and I hear about Lorcana. I'm like, I love TCGs. I'm obsessed with Disney. How have I not heard about this before now? And sure enough, I'm like, I'm a year behind. So yeah, I found out about it. I am big on watching like gameplay videos, but specifically, what caught me and what drove me into really going hard into Lorcana at that time was like there was no really putting anything out that was in the manner that I wanted to see it. So I'm like, pull the Thanos glove on, if no one else is doing it, I guess I'll do it myself for like 3 months. That's another story. We'll get into that.
Nice. So, do y'all have any previous experience with TCGs? It sounds like there might be some past experience there.
I have the least. I played a few trading card games in the 90s. I played like Marvel Overpower and Babylon 5 and Dune, which actually did come out with the TCG based on the books. But I haven't played any since the 90s. And so I really basically just considered myself a TCG newbie.
Fair. I collected Pokemon like most kids my age did growing up. And then as time went on, I moved into Yu-Gi-Oh! When that came out, and Magic the Gathering, and then back into Pokemon, and then a big long break of nothing, and now I'm here in this lovely game.
For me, I'm back in the 90s as well, but it was Magic. And I'm going to date myself here for the like 5 people that are listening that might know this, but I started in Ice Age. Was when I started with Magic the Gathering.
I sold Ice Age, and I had a comic book store back in the 90s as well.
Nice.
So that was one of the first things that we got as a sealed product, that and Homelands.
And Homelands, oh my gosh. Suffice to say, I have really bad timing just in general. I started at a really bad time with Magic because Ice Age was good, but then we got into Homelands and we got into Fallen Empires and dark times. So I had an off-again, on-again relationship with Magic through all of its time, right up until Magic Arena came out. Other card games, I played stuff on and on. I played some miniature games. I don't know if either of you guys have played Star Wars miniatures when that came out, which was the Coast, and a few other things. But Magic was really the only one that stuck with me through the years. And so when Lorcana came out, I'm like, I don't really like go hard into anything else, but I feel like now is the time to really invest myself back into a game. I'm happy I did.
Yeah, talking about dating yourself a little bit, I played Magic back in like junior high or high school or elementary school. I kind of forget when. And had a whole like set of the first editions of all that stuff. And then I was like, I don't think I'm ever gonna play this again, so I completely gave them all away. And I was like, now I'm like, oh my god, if I
What
just kept
have
them.
I done?
I mean,
Benny, did you have any like marquee Pokemon cards from back in the day that you got rid of prematurely?
I had a first edition Blastoise that I have no idea what happened to it. And I kept it in a I've always been that guy that was like sleeve it, top load it. So I don't know, somebody's
Just
enjoying the
don't
wealth
remember
of
where it is. Take absolute care of it, other than remembering where I put it.
that. Yeah, like I thought like for the longest time I thought I like let my cousin use it or look at it or something like that, and or somebody I don't know, maybe it got stolen at school. Who knows? It's
No.
how it goes.
So if anyone's watching this and they're new to Lorcana, if you think that the cards here are expensive, going back to what Chris was saying, like I remember when I first started seeing my wife, we got married 10 years ago, so it was 11 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that. One of the first times that we were getting together, I had to meet someone to sell some Magic cards just before then. And I'm like, okay, I'll meet you at the mall. I'm just going to meet someone beforehand to sell some cards. And she thought I was making a drug deal for the fact that I handed him 5 pieces of cardboard and he gave me like $2,000. She's like, what is going on? Is this a front for something? Like, no, this is just a really expensive game.
We just
Yep.
really
Yes.
care about pieces of cardboard.
Yes.
yeah, very expensive
Especially
pieces
shiny
of
ones.
cardboard. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh yes, the shiny ones. Yep. Yep. Nice. So I'm curious for those of y'all that had experience with the different games in the past, how do like the mechanics compare? Do you find Lorcana to be kind of simpler, or is it just different, or what's the feel there?
Well, I mean, I'm never gonna hesitate to answer. This is like, go on. For me, when I first started the game, I actually thought it was gonna be too simple. I was worried. I'm like, oh, this feels like it's just gonna be a race to 20. Like I can't prevent my opponent from really winning as much as I can in Magic. Magic, you can block, you can, right? There are ways to stall out in Magic much more so than there were, at least when we started. Right now, I'm talking about when I started. What did we have? Like maybe half of the first chapter release, maybe a third. So, admittedly, we didn't have everything, but that was my first instinct: was it's going to be too simple. But since then, I would say the intricacies of not being able to affect your opponent on their turn means that you have to think really thoroughly about how can I give them the most suboptimal situation possible that they then have to react to or deal with. How do I set them up for failure as much as possible and then have to say go? And I think just that aspect alone has created a lot of decision making that I never anticipated when I first started the game.
If you've ever played Pokemon and Magic are very similar. That's about as much as I can say for like. Well, I mean, you got energy that you put in. Get out of here. But it's definitely. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like when I'm not very good at teaching the game. I've tried a couple times to teach people the game, and I'm like, there is so much going on that if there's a better way to do it, we're gonna use it. So I ended up buying the board game, which I still haven't cracked, to get my wife and hopefully my oldest into the game. So we'll see how that goes. But wish me luck.
Yeah, the gateway thing was Christmas presents for several people in my life this past year. So it managed to stick with one. My my sister and brother-in-law, their 2 kids are playing it now, so they're going to be on the receiving end of some boxes of bulk here shortly. But
Nice.
Nice. One of the other mechanics that I really appreciate is the inking system. Coming from Magic, one of the worst aspects of it is the fact that you can have games where you either have too many resources or not enough in terms of its mana in Magic. And you can have games where you just have nothing but, because they're distinct cards, versus in Lorcana where it's any inkable card, right? So all it does is it produces those resources, the equivalent of ink. And to have a hand full of that is problematic, and then to have a hand with none of that is very problematic. And yes, they've got a mulligan system, but it's not nearly as generous as Lorcana's. So the end result is that you have just non-games happen. It's not so consistent that they've had to make big changes to accommodate it, but you still, like I said, I like to watch gameplay videos. I still watch Magic gameplay videos. You know, every 10 games, 15 games, you'll get that was a non-game because this person didn't draw enough, or this person drew too many.
Oh, that's actually way more frequent than I was thinking.
Yeah, it's relatively common.
Huh. Okay. Makes me grateful for our inking system then.
Yeah. It is, I think, probably the single, you were talking about mechanics, the single most impactful mechanical choice that they made, because it leads to, yes, just based on the luck of the draw, based on, quite frankly, skill differentials, you'll have games that are non-games in Lorcana, but not necessarily because of that. The amount of times where, I've been stuck on 2 ink or 3 ink and just have a handful of uninkables is so infrequent that it's just not worth complaining about the mechanics of the game. Maybe my decision making around what to mulligan.
That's the hard part. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
James, any thoughts there, mechanic wise?
I just love how the game plays. It's so much fun. So the mechanics are like, hey, it's great. I mean, except I dislike my deck when it fights against me, like what happened the other night, and I had like 5 was in my hand on turn 5, and I couldn't play anything going forward. It's like, and everything was too expensive. Like, guess I lose this game. So it does happen. Like, not too much, but it's like what, 1 game out of 100, 200. Sometimes you'll get stuck with that. So I do appreciate the just the fun that there is built into playing the game.
Yeah. I've got 8 1-drops in my deck, and I had a whole league night where I didn't draw a single 1-drop, so it does happen.
Yeah. I mean, but there's the difference between like getting stuck on 4 ink and your deck still functions, but it's like I really needed that 5th ink on that turn. Mm-hmm. That's, but to just be I can't play the game because I don't have enough resources, or I just have nothing but resources. That's the feel bad that I think is still challenging with Magic. The problem with other problem with Magic is it's so complex. There's so many different keywords, and you've got cards with this much text on them. So I think I appreciate the complexity of Lorcana in that there's a lot of decision making that can go on, but the simplicity of it in terms of how it can also play out and be taught. So I think it's the right balance right now.
Easy to learn,
difficult to master.
There you go.
Yeah.
But of course, let's give it 25, 30 years. We'll see.
I know, right? I'm sure
Might
when
get
Magic
bloated
first started out, it was, relatively simple. But
it was all vanilla creatures and
So I'm curious, like for the Magic side, so do you feel like the construction of the deck has more or less impact on it, on how it plays out? Because in Lorcana, you're working with everything inkable, versus in Magic, it's all, the lands and everything are separate. Does it?
Yeah, I think there's kind of a relatively standard formula. Like high-level players will tweak it, but the standard amount of lands in either a limited deck or a constructed deck is pretty common for. You're going to have more lands in a control-heavy deck where you need to be putting out more lands, and in an aggressive deck you're going to have less, but the number is relatively kind of well accepted. Hey, we know what the right number of lands is. In certain archetypes of decks, it's going to fluctuate a little bit, but not significantly. So I think the deck construction ends up playing out relatively the same, which is to say, how many uninkables are kind of the right number in most decks, right? Same kind of idea with lands.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, I want to shift gears and get into one of the main reasons that I have y'all here. The podcast. So, you guys have a podcast, right? I'm talking to the right people.
I think we just kind of ramble at each other once a week, and sometimes if
Record
people
it.
watch.
We were discussing changing the name today to Tangent City
Just-
because
nice.
we barely talk about Lorcana sometimes before what 10, 15 minutes
15
into the
minutes?
episode.
I mean,
And
it
the
takes 5
intros.
minutes to get through the intro as I'm just causing chaos.
I'm saying, yeah. Well, y'all just released your 95th episode. That's really impressive, I have to say. That's because it started out before Lorcana was even released, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of started out as for anyone who hasn't heard the early episodes, it started out as a joke, kind of. So way back before there was an official Discord, myself and a couple other guys were chatting around in there, and one guy said, "Hey, you and I have a similar sense of humor. I think we should start a podcast." And then a bunch of people started piling on and saying, "Oh, do it, ah ha ha." And one guy said, "Oh, you won't do it. You'll never do it." We actually had him on as an early guest.
Nice.
And for me, when somebody says you won't do it or you can't do it, I must immediately prove them wrong. And so we started doing the podcast. We started recording a couple episodes, and then I was just pushing to make sure I could get it edited, which I had never done any editing before in my life. I work in the trades, not a big computer person for the most part. I like using them, but going real in depth there, I'm not 100% with. So yeah, it was kind of a big push to get that first couple episodes out. So yeah, started off as a joke, kept going from there, and now I'm the last startup member, and we've brought on some new, very experienced, very professional, top tier co-hosts.
Talking about Heath, right? What's funny is I remember them chatting in the Lorcana HQ Discord about it, and I was genuinely shocked when they actually produced an episode. Because I'm like, no, these guys are. I was one of those guys, like, I never actually said to them, like, no, you guys can't do it. I was just like, thought to myself, they're just joking, right? They're just having a good time like they always do. But no, then all of a sudden there's a podcast, and now all of a sudden it's like nearing 100 episodes. Like, man,
Yeah.
apparently you kick someone in the butt by telling them they can't do something, and all of a sudden you get 100 episodes of a podcast.
I know. And like nobody ever thought telling me that I couldn't do something would have been the right motivation. Everyone kept telling me you can do it, and then I'd be like, okay.
I intend to file this information away for future use, by the way. If you want Penny to do something, just tell him he can't do it.
Uh-oh.
Nice. So
Need to use it as a weapon.
when did you kind of come around?
Very late in the game. I was like, you guys have been doing this for 95 episodes. I'm like, one of us has. One of us has been doing this same thing for that long. I have not. I came around just at the start of this year. Yeah, it was right around Nats, right? I was talking to Jared, who was talking to Benny about the fact that, Charles wanted to take a break and that there might be an opening. I'm like, I could talk. You want someone to talk? I could talk. Didn't know what he was getting himself into. So yeah, we started recording sometime maybe the week after Nats or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was early January.
Yeah. So and
but I heard,
the rest is very sordid history.
Yeah, so I heard the episodes when Charles left, and then Heath came on as like guest, like my guest host, filling in while we figure things out. And I'm like, he's not just the host. He's not just the new host. So
I didn't want any ego into it. I'm like, I don't need any titles. I'm just holding Charles' seat warm.
And then like a week or two, the next episode or two, whatever it was, and he's like, hey, he's back, and he's the regular host now. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Just kind of
I kept
ease your
asking.
way in there. Yeah.
I kept asking him and asking him, and he said, I don't want to make anything too official. And I was like, Man, one of these days we're gonna have to make this pretty official.
I'm still waiting for a ring, man.
So's my wife.
Well, and Heath, you also have your own channel that you do stuff on, right? And it kind of
Yeah,
started
yeah.
around the same time, right?
I don't know. When did the podcast start? Like, what was the month that you guys started?
May 2023, I think.
Yeah, so around the same time.
Maybe June
So-
2023, somewhere around there.
So then I started before you. Much less content out there, but so yeah, I mentioned that when I first started, I was looking for gameplay videos, and the biggest problem I had was when someone doesn't really know the cards, and then someone plays a card and really tiny on my screen. I have no idea what's going on, and I like to play along. I like to kind of think through the lines and all that. So I'm like, just a simple matter of having it pop up, the larger card pop up on the screen as you're playing them, so that I can kind of process, okay, what does this card do? And nobody was doing that. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to print up some proxies. My buddy and I will play some games. I'll put some videos out there. What the heck? How hard can it be? And had a lot of fun doing it in the short term. So started early May of 23. And made some really janky decks with, again, a third to a half. I remember like every week I could make a new deck because we were just seeing more cards. I remember Stitch Rockstar being like a menace for a while there before we revealed Grab Your Sword. And I was saying there's got to be something. There's got to be the equivalent of Be Prepared or Grab Your Sword, because otherwise this deck is just going to roll over everything. And yeah, and much like Benny, I'm like, I haven't done any video editing before. Now, fortunately enough, at the same time for my job, I needed to learn video editing, again, just basic stuff. And I'm like, all right, 2 for 1 here.
Yeah.
So I used the software that I was using for my job. And I'm like, all right, I'll teach myself how to do it for my work. And then I can get it for myself at home and use it there. And put together some gameplay videos, had fun with it. Didn't really expect anything of it. Nothing really major came of it, but started really getting some good momentum right up until September of 23, just as the actual game came out. My computer died and a bunch of other stuff hit the fan. I'm like, all right, I need to step away for, it ended up being till like the next spring or something like that. And at that point, I'm like, all right, I was making like 2 or 3 videos a week for 5 months. I'm going to make 2 or 3 videos a quarter every set. And now I basically just focus on limited. I focus on draft predominantly.
Yep. Nice. And James, was Citizens your first podcasting experience, or did you have something else before that?
I've been on a blog called the SD Concast, which is the podcast for the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog. I've been doing that since 2012.
Okay.
I've had plenty of experience podcasting, but like this is it. I talk. We do it live. For the first couple of years, it was recorded, so we would like sit and do, like a Skype call or whatever, and we would record, and then the guy who owned the blog at the time would do all the editing and put it out. And then at some point, we decided we're just going to do it live. So sometime in like 2014, 2015, we started doing live YouTube streams of the podcast. And so I've been doing it live. So I got used to not worrying about editing. Because you just talk, and any mistakes that happen, they happen, and you just go forward from there. And it's actually worked really well for us, and it's helped me in being able to just move from one thing to another. And I guess it was good practice. But so I've done that for a very long time, and that was my only experience. But I think it helped out because when I started doing Citizens of Lorcana, Jared was a new podcaster, and I think it really helped to help him out on the path. He was already wanting to. He already had all the skills of being, personable and knows what he wanted to talk about. But just like having that someone with a foundation where he didn't have to stress too much about the podcasting side of it, where I was like, okay, let's have an outline, let's do this, let's do that. I think that really helped, and I think it came through that it helped us to be just two guys talking, and and going from there to be able to just concentrate on what we were talking about and not worry about the other stuff, really.
Yep, definitely did. So I'm curious, for the Overexerted podcast, if y'all could describe kind of the goal or the brand, I guess, of the podcast. I'd be interested to kind of hear that.
No. Oh no. The goal was just to try and reach as many ears as we possibly could, let people know about the game, let people know what's going on in the community, any news that we've kind of had thrown our way or that we've picked up on, just essentially try and get as many eyes and ears as possible out there so that people just kind of know what's going on, kind of Lorcana news, I guess. And yeah, from there, just build a community, make it so that people are chatting, interactive, start up a Discord and kind of get more and more people just talking and interested in the game. And eventually, I'd like to build it up bigger and bigger and see where we go with it. And I've had plans that I've shared with Heath already in the past, and James knows about a couple of them as well. And we'll see where we go from there, I guess. But yeah.
Told me not to tell you where you hid the bodies.
I don't do that. I just banish them.
They don't die. They get banished.
But yeah, so like essentially that was just the aim. Is I just wanted to talk more about the game, and just kind of keep having fun with it and learn news as it goes. Yeah.
Nice.
Just loving the game.
So I'm curious, can you give us any sneak peeks into some of those ideas that you had for the future? You don't have to. It's okay. I just figured I'd ask while we were there.
I think was one of them, right?
Huh?
James doing cabaret.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't usually try to share too many ideas just in case something doesn't go through. There's a thing I watched one time where a guy said, "Don't tell people your goals. Don't tell people what you're working on, because then the only person pushing you is you." But at the same time, I can't remember what like the explanation was. It was basically like you need to be the person who's the most focused on it, not other people focusing on what you didn't do or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, I try and stick with that. There you go.
Under promise and over deliver.
I can tell you that we've got a lot of guests coming up soon. I can tell you that much.
Y'all had a ton of guests over the time that the podcast has been running. So all sorts of people. And I think even, did y'all have Steve on? Steve Warner?
Or we have not.
Oh, who was it that you had on? It was somebody that I saw. I can't remember. But yeah.
They had, Overexerted had some artists that I was super jealous of. They had Nicholas Cole on, and they had Matthew Robert Davies. So they've had some artists on there that I was like, man, I wanted to talk to those guys.
I'm going to give you a little spoiler.
Host, so you can hop in there. So,
right.
I'll give you a little spoiler now. We've got Nicholas Cole and Matthew Robert Davies coming on in future episodes here.
Ooh.
You will get a chance to talk to them.
Nice.
Awesome.
Watch it be a Sunday. I can't be there.
What was the Sunday that you can't be there again?
Just schedule it for that.
Nice. Well, so y'all been doing this for a little while. So if there is any one piece of advice that you have for people that are wanting to get out there and create content, or maybe level up their current content, what would you recommend?
I'd say just stick with it. Like, there are going to be good days and not so good days, but just stick with it. Try and think of the audience. Think of, if you were listening to the podcast about Lorcana, what would bring you in and what would keep you hooked? The main thing that you have to remember is also to just, I'm pretty sure Heath is the one. No, Jared and James always used to say it. You just got to have fun with it. That's like the most important thing. If you don't have fun doing it, then what's the point in doing it? And that's like that's one thing that I'm like trying to instill more in every aspect of my life. If it's not fun, then just don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many content creators that, they get to a certain point and they're like, okay, this has turned into a job. I didn't want this to be a job. It's like, yeah, definitely totally understandable. And the whole longevity thing is super hard too.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people just they feel like they almost have to go in and clock in and record content and get it out every single week, and you can't take a break, and if you take a break you're going to lose traction. It's like it's okay to lose a little bit of traction to keep your mental health in check. That's the number one thing. So just enjoy doing what you're doing. And if you're not, take a little break, step away, come back when you're ready.
Heath, what about you?
I want to pass it to James first because I bet you he's got all the great.
James, go for it.
These two have been doing it a lot longer than me.
So I will give one tip, and this is very self-serving, even though we don't have a podcast anymore. But for like the entire first year-ish of our podcast, whenever we had content creators on, that's a question we asked every single one of them: is what's some advice you would give? So any podcast we did that had a content creator, there is some advice on that podcast for content creators. And there was so much of it and such good advice throughout the whole time. I can't remember all of the best advice, but as Benny said, when Jared and I started, the first thing we talked about is we're going to do this as long as it's fun for us, as long as we're having a good time, as long as it's something that we want. When we think about it, when we're not doing it, we're looking forward to doing it. When we're doing it, we're having a blast. And at a certain point for Jared, because of life, it got to the point where it was a stress point, and it wasn't as fun. And for me, I was also getting a little burned out on it because 2 years every single week. We missed in the first year and a half to almost 2 years. We missed 1 week. And so we were like on all the time, and it was still fun. Every time we sat down, we joked about it. Like as soon as we were facing each other on the computer, we were having fun. It never was not fun sitting and talking Lorcana with each other. But it did become where during the week, it was like, are we recording a podcast this week? And for him, with the life stuff that had to happen, we went to biweekly for a bit, and at the beginning of this year or some point this year, and it was still that thing where he's like, you know what, I just have to concentrate on my life for a while, and so that's why we went on hiatus. And I was ready for that. I was like, okay, yes, I see that, and so there was that burnout, but like within a week or two. Because he had told me, and we didn't record for like a week. He's like, I need a week to prep for it, for the final episode. So we knew we were quitting at least a week before the podcast, before we recorded it. So I had that time to get used to the idea, and then do the episode to where it became real, and then live with it for a week. And so I had that time to kind of adjust, and then after a week or so, I was like, I still want to sit down and talk about Lorcana regularly. And so that's when I messaged Benny, and I said, Benny, so I know you just got Heath, but are you looking for a third? I could come on.
I was like, Heath too. I mean, who needs that guy?
I was just like,
let's be honest.
I just wanted to like be able to talk regularly again, and I didn't care if it was like once a month or whatever. I just wanted to talk regularly again. And they were both gracious enough to say, come in as often as you like, whenever you want, whenever you're available, we'll have you. And I'm like, great. And so that's why I'm here. And I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but we obviously click fairly well because we're all having a good time when we're chatting and everything. So I think it's working out. Now, whether or not that's because Benny is insane and is a very good moderating presence, and so who knows what the actual reason for that is, but I think it's a good mix. So and with me and Jared, it was the same thing. We just clicked from the beginning on how we chatted and how it went back and forth. So it's just very cool that I was able to move from the Citizens of Lorcana to the Overexerted without any stress, really. And I think it's fun. And so that's one advice I would give is if you want to do it, find a way to do it. Find people that you enjoy doing it with, and go forward from there. And it doesn't have to be every week. It can be whatever schedule you want. Just do it because it's something that you enjoy.
Yeah. I think the only other thing I'd add to that, because Benny hit exactly my point, and James, as I thought, elaborated on it beautifully, which is, do what you love, but also, like, if you find it shifting, like, for example, I started with constructed. I'm like, there's a lot of people doing great constructed stuff. I'm not really feeling like I'm contributing anything to this. I'm not really enjoying that. Find something that you do love. Okay, is there anything else that I'd like to do in this space, whether it be podcasting, whether it be, in my case, shifting to more limited focus or whatever the case may be. So don't hesitate to pivot as well. But the last thing that I'll say, and this is something that I try and ground myself on repeatedly, is like, don't come into it with expectations either, which is the most prolific Lorcana content creators. This is not something that they're making money off of. This is not something that they're building an empire. One of the Magic content creators that I admire the most, he has been doing this for a long time. He's one of the biggest content creators in the space, and he's still only at 90K subscribers on YouTube, which sounds like a big number for us, but quite frankly, in the YouTube space, it's pretty small, right? So you got to do it for the love of doing it, because if you come in being like, okay, I enjoy doing this, but I really want to achieve these big results. I'm not saying don't have goals. I'm not saying don't go after it. Don't expect that to be the case and then get disappointed a year in when you're not, don't have this empire built up, right? You've got to do it for the love. And if something happens and you do great things, amazing, and absolutely push for it. Just set realistic expectations, I think, is another important part of it.
Yeah, that's a huge part.
Wait, you mean I'm not going to get to be a caster?
I mean, that's the kind of aspirations you can go after, right? Like, is to be a bigger presence in the space. Absolutely. Be a bigger part of the community. Absolutely. Right. When it comes to the content creator space, I think setting realistic expectations around that.
I only want to cast if I get to do it with B Squared or one of my co-hosts. That's my
I think James is queuing up to be a caster at some point. Is that something on your list of goals, James?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You'd be great at that, man.
He's like, I want to be a caster, but that means I can't compete, and I don't know if I like
that. Mixed up.
I didn't understand how Brandon and Liam were able to just drop competing and playing the game to do the casting. But now, after seeing it and okay, I understand now, because you get it just feels like there's still that connection to the game, even if you're not playing it. You're so deep in to the meta and everything that's happening, and seeing all of these awesome games that I think that it replaces that little trigger in the brain of this is cool, where that playing does, when you hit that perfect combo or something. It's like, I got to see this perfect play and call it and tell people what happened and why it was so cool. So I think it kind of just does the same thing. So I think that I think I could definitely stop playing to cast if I was given that opportunity.
Yeah. If I can derail the conversation for a second, I just got to say, James, for me, one of the reasons I think you'd make such a great caster is I think you'd have the perfect combination. For me, the best casters are the ones that know enough about the game that they can provide insight without trying to lecture the audience, right? Provide insight while also providing that humanity and just, positioning it as another perspective, or this is something could do or whatever, or I wonder if they're going to do that, or I wonder why they did that type of thing. I see you in that space. So I'm putting it out there to all the caster groups out there. My man James needs a spot.
Yeah.
Needs to get called up.
You need someone remote casting. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm waiting.
Yeah, it's interesting talking to other people that have done casting in the past. You get so used to, as a player, you're sitting down, you're doing your reps, you're playing your games to try to figure out the optimal, deck for what you're trying to do. And then there's, on the casting side, people are, I've talked to people that have like put videos on mute, like gameplay videos, and they actually do the commentary as the game is playing.
Yeah.
Or they'll watch commentators for sports and try to pick up on how they handle things, how they do little filler things between the gaps and everything. It's interesting to see the different kinds of like training, I guess, that you do on either side.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Well, cool. Well, hopefully we'll see James doing some commentary soon on some games. I know there's all sorts of stuff that's out there, so it seems like there's events happening all the time that are looking for somebody. So get your name out there.
Put it out into the aether.
There you go.
It's the next DLC, obviously. DLC.
DLC 2027.
So that's a good segue into something else I wanted to talk about. So there's a lot of big feelings happening in the community right now around some of the DLC stuff, worlds, all of that. I'd like to kind of get y'all's perspective on some of that and see kind of what y'all were thinking about the current situation of things.
Well, actually, we did talk about this on the latest podcast a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see so much of the community just being in a funk right now with the lack of communication, the lack of any of official competitive events, and it's disheartening. But I also know that, well, I know, no, I don't know, no, well, air quotes, no, we. Since I've been following the game from the beginning, and I've seen how Ravensburger does things, I know that when they say something, that they're doing it. There hasn't been a time where they haven't done what they've said they're going to do, from what I can recall. So that post in January or February, whenever it was, where they said the state of organized play, and they're like, hey, we actually need to reset and hire a bunch of people and get a bunch of stuff in line so that we can give you the best OP experience possible. I think that that's what they're doing, and I think it's just taking a long time, unfortunately. And we're just like the unfortunate victims of their success. We gave them all this success by making those events go from 500 to 2,000 people, and we could have had 3,000 people or 4,000, whatever it was. No problem at all. And they were just going so hard, so fast, that it's like, oh wait, we actually have to have a plan in place, because I don't think they had a plan.
Yeah.
And so now that they're having to get everything in line and everything like down and like venues booked and whatever else they need to do behind the scenes, have plenty of people to run things, probably some things in house now instead of farming it out. All of this stuff takes time to get set and get the people trained up. And so we're unfortunately waiting months for that to happen. And when everyone says, but they're not saying anything, I say, yes, they said something in January, and until they say something else, that's what's happening. They're not sitting around just like looking at all of us saying like, you guys aren't communicating, and saying, yeah, we're just sitting around here because we just wanted to wait an extra month. They're all working on making sure that they can be ready to go when they announce what they're ready to announce. That's my perspective. I still think it sucks that it's this long. I still think it's lame that we haven't gotten any communication, even though I understand why, because it's causing a lot of people that I know and see to get, like I said, in a funk about the game. And they're like, oh, well, no big events. Why do I even need to go to my local weekly if there's nothing to train for? All those kind of things. Why do I need to care about what card reveals are coming and when? Because I'll just get it when there's a DLC coming up or whatever. I understand that, and it's very frustrating. I just also see the other side of it, where I trust Ravensburger is going to come back with I think they're coming back with something amazing. I think they are. I think they're going to come back with like a full DLC schedule for 2026. We're going to get Worlds this year. I think we're going to get some non-DLC type events to tide us over until we get an official DLC season, like it's happening this weekend in Ravensburg in Germany. We're getting an event, 500 people. It's not here in America, but hey, they're doing something, and it's a 500-person event that's being officially run. So I'm hoping that we get things like that to fill out the rest of the year along with Worlds, and then we just hit 2026 just running with a full DLC schedule and all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
That's my thought.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm sitting. I'm fine with a little bit of a break. Like if we had Worlds this year and like you said, a couple side events to tide us over, that's fine. I feel like they're gonna come back better and bigger than ever. Where it's like we see that we needed to prepare for this more. So here you go. Here's your schedule. Get ready to book your time off. If you plan on going to more than one, have fun because it's gonna be all over the place. So I feel like I feel like it's going to get better. I understand people's frustration and the only advice I can give you is just wait. Just wait. I haven't been let down yet, so we'll see how it goes.
All right, how much time do you have?
Take what you need. Yeah.
I got thoughts. Just like I gotta hydrate for this one. I'm very much aligned with what James said. For me, it is a combination of things. Like for me, I'm always trying to look for the positives and look for just what can help sustain us through some challenging times. But I think there's always a cause to look at feedback and maybe missed opportunities. So I want to kind of touch on both, which is to say, on the one side, I think it's fair to acknowledge that there's a funk right now, that there was, quite frankly, a lot of missed opportunities around communication, around organized play, around, heck, you can even dig as deep as saying kind of design and development and playtesting, where we got some things that maybe shouldn't have been in set 7 especially, that required some correction, right? So opportunities. But to James's point as well, it's obvious that they're trying to rectify that, right? They hired a new communications manager. They hired a new manager for organized play. They brought on Brennan DeCandio, which I think was a great get to help with the development of the game. James, it feels like you want to say something.
No, I'm sitting up listening.
Nice. All right. So they're working on these things, and yeah, it may not be in the timeline that we want, and it may not even be in the timeline that is going to have helped them capitalize on that early momentum. There's a lull now. And all right, so now we're building off a lower place than we were at 6 months ago. But as long as they nail the landing, then at some point it's going to feel like a small blip, right? At some point we're going to look back and be like, it was a lull, but it was brief and we got through it and now everything's fantastic. Now that necessitates them actually sticking the landing, so we'll see how the execution goes. But again, agree with James, I'd rather them take a little bit more time and really do it right than to try and fumble their way through and maybe eventually get there, but more pain points. I think hopefully one of the lessons that they've learned is we've tried to do these things kind of half-baked, quite frankly, like, okay, here's what we're going to do. And then they get a bunch of pushback and be like, actually, let's do it that way. And the great thing is that means that they're acknowledging and learning from the feedback and responding to it. But maybe they hadn't fully kind of thought through things. So now it's radio silence. They've taken a big step back. they're assessing everything, they're hiring for it, and they're working on it. And I think, it's frustrating from someone that wants the game to flourish, but at the same time, I feel like you've got to respect that they are taking this seriously, that they're trying to come up with a really great plan moving forward. So yeah, that's all well and good until we see the execution. But I think for anyone that's feeling frustrated, just think about what the implication is of taking this amount of time to work through it, and the amount of hiring that they've done and all that good stuff. So that's on the feedback side. Now on the while we're in this lull side of things, for me, I've always tried to push, like, we love this game. Why does it have to be one way? Which is, we got in this mode of just constructed DLCs, set champs, right? And while the constructed side of things is kind of lagging, this is what to some degree we've been trying to push on the podcast a bit, is like, there are other ways to enjoy the game, multiplayer and other casual formats, pauper or themed decks or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be this hardcore constructed grind. I love that too. I love being competitive, but quite frankly, I haven't really thought much about the competitive. Before we started recording, I was telling the guys, like, you guys got to catch me up on the meta on the next podcast, because I'm behind, because I haven't really been focused on the constructed right now. So find other ways that you might love the game. But also, for me, I just love the community too. Like, for me, it's just as much about kind of being around my friends and seeing them and talking with them, whether it be online or whether it be in person. So yeah, you can be frustrated. That's okay. Acknowledge that and provide that feedback. But also, it's not just on Ravensburger to make this a game that you enjoy. There's things that you can do to enjoy this game for yourself, and think through that and think what you can do to kind of take this into your own hands.
I like that. Yeah, there's such a community that's grown up around this game in just the short time that it's been around, that I feel like that it is possible for that kind of thing, right? For the community to kind of keep things driving and keep things going in the absence of like these official kinds of things. There's so many people that I talk to that they have these thriving local communities. They go to 3 or 4 LGSs during the week, and just to have all these people around the game that enjoy playing it. But it's not necessarily because there's DLCs or because there's things like worlds and nationals and stuff. It's just because they enjoy playing the game.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, it's really cool to see all the varying ways that people come to this game. You have the super casual people, the people that love those themed deck nights, that that's like, I'm just not competitive. I just want to play because it's fun and I get to hang out with people that I like. And so to see that is great to to see that continue as well. I don't know, do y'all
you
have
can play the game in a lot of ways?
Yeah,
you don't just have to play one way. That's one thing I
Yeah.
loved about Nats, by the way. I don't know if you, Chris, were you at the Nationals?
No, I was
Anaheim?
gonna try, but nope.
The side events were something else. Like that, the way they executed, I had feedback on, but the nature of it's so many different side events, multiplayer and 3v3, all unique ink colors, and I played a 2v2 sealed, and there's so many ways that you can enjoy the game that you don't have to get kind of bogged down in, I only play one way. Try something else, try something different. You might like it.
Yep.
Yeah.
2v2 is a blast,
Oh, so good.
especially if you're playing team 2v2, not just 2v2 sealed where you
Yeah.
just build 2 decks
Yeah.
and then play someone. When you're playing as a team,
Yeah.
so many Lorcana cards come into play that you never get to play. Just like
Yeah.
multiplayer, it's
Yeah.
it's so fun. It's if you like he said, if you love Lorcana, if you really enjoy the game, why wouldn't you want to find ways to use more of those cards that you spent money on? More cards. You bought a lot. If you bought a lot of cards, wouldn't you want to play with some of those cards that never get played with?
Yeah.
Build some fun decks. Play some 2v2.
You guys bought a lot of cards?
Imagine it's like Toy Story, and they're sitting forlorn in your bulk box. They're
You
just
guys
like,
bought-
they just
You
want
guys
to be
bought a
played.
lot?
That's nothing, then. That's nothing.
That's in my sorting box. And those are all cards that I already got 4 of.
Now they're all out of sorted.
Yep.
No, they're not sorted anyways. These are bulk that I just take to stores and hand out.
And also, as Heath mentioned, as being the force that you want to how to enjoy the game, you can go to your local store. If like what our store has learned is that between set champs and the new season, people get disinterested in the game and fewer people show up. So they're like, we're doing special events between those two things. So we're going to do a 2v2 night. We're going to do a lore common night. We're going to do a movie night, and that way people get excited to try those things that they normally don't get to play. And people keep showing up when normally they wouldn't. And so you can help foster that by taking the idea to your local game store and saying, hey, I know that we've started to lose some people. Do we need to look at whether or not like most of the people coming to play here are casual and the competitive is driving them away, or are they all competitive and the casualness is driving them away? Have some conversations with your local game store and the person running the event to see if maybe you can do some different things to see if it gets more people in. If you want to make sure that your local scene continues to thrive.
You know what we should put in the Discord is like a list of different formats that you can bring to your local game store as a recommendation.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen a resource out there that has that kind of stuff. That would be really interesting to have. So just
Let's go. We're going to be the
reference.
first.
There you go. Hey, it'd be valuable, honestly. I mean, there's so many, there's so many different ways. You even have like the heroic stuff that's been kind of spinning up lately. It sounds interesting.
I saw one.
Oh, go ahead.
What was it? The other day, who was it? Someone was streaming it, a budget style. I'll have to go find the link. But they were streaming a budget event where it wasn't lore common or pop.
Wasn't that Rules of Villainy?
It might have been, yeah.
Or was it Traverse Tavern? It was one of those two.
Traverse Tavern did it.
Yeah.
And it was basically where lore common or street rat or pop or whatever you want to call it is where you can only use commons and uncommons. Instead, you set a dollar value on your deck, and you can use any cards you want in a normal build, but it has to be like under $50. So you can use a legendary.
I have one Diablo and then the rest penny cards.
So it definitely opens up to different deck building, but also like with that ceiling, it makes everyone on an even keel where they can only have a certain amount of the premier meta cards in their deck. And so everyone has to think a little harder on what they want to put in there. That may be a $10 or a $15 or a $30 card, and see if they can build a deck around it. So I think things like that really just make things interesting and fun.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a cool idea, setting the dollar limit on it. Because there's so many of the meta decks that are like 300, 400, and it's just way out of the price range of most people.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing, we could come up with this list, but at the end of the day, you can also just kind of make up your own, restrictions and run with it and see what happens, right?
Yep. Yeah, I know. I think it's the Smorkana folks that their LGS, they start out with a starter deck, and then each week they get a booster pack, and they can start trading out cards in the starter deck, and they can trade with other people and stuff and try to build their deck over time, but they have to leave the deck there at the LGS. They can't take it home and practice with it or anything like that. So it kind of, it adds to the challenge of it all. So it's kind of cool.
That's one thing that I actually tried starting at our local shop when the game kind of started going, and shortly after they just handed us all our decks back and said, here you go, and you guys can figure out what you want to do from there. And we went right into constructed, because I thought it was a good idea. I thought it'd be fun, but I think too many people at that point wanted to compete, so
yeah, it's tough. I mean, the different local groups, even like in the same city, like I said, some people go to multiple LGSs during the week, there'll be one that they go to, it's like super casual, and then another one that's like 5 blocks away will be super competitive, and so it's not going to work. One solution or one approach is not going to work for both of those stores. So,
Yeah.
got to be flexible about stuff.
Yeah. I actually have been trying to get locals to see if anybody wanted to do a sealed gift set with the new Lilo gift set.
Oh,
You get 5 packs in there.
Right.
So
Could be interesting.
I actually,
oops, all eggplants.
I said to somebody as a joke, I was like, you could technically open every pack, throw the decks down, and be like, that's my 60 card deck. Let's go. I said, you tell people it's not a 40 card deck, it's 60. You got to play every card from the 5 packs that you
Sounds
open.
miserable. I was gonna put that out there.
Oh, those
You
are
get the good, the bad, and the
interesting
ugly.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the uninkable items.
Oh,
Yes. Bad.
That's when somebody pulls the enchanted and they're like, do I have to play with this? Can I get a proxy?
No proxies.
And you have to bridge shuffle it.
God.
Oh, I'm still haunted by Seattle DLC, the first chapter sealed events. I played against someone in round 3, raw dogging, no sleeves, bridge shuffling, and they didn't have an enchanted in there, but they had like legendary Elsa, legendary Belle, Tinkerbell. They had 5 cards of value in there. I'm just like, what are you doing? You monster!
Let people play the game the way they want.
I guess.
mean,
I
you
guess.
get some people playing enchanteds, so
Yeah, right.
But that's up to them.
Heath, you're gonna hate what I did with my deck.
No.
I wrapped a rubber band around it.
Ugh.
Didn't we learn this when we were children playing
Right?
Magic and Pokemon?
Oh, I had terrible cards. Like the best cards I pulled were more just my favorite cards than good cards. Like I pulled a heroic outlaw, and then a foil heroic outlaw, and then my next pack another heroic outlaw. And I was like, I guess I'm playing heroic outlaw today.
Yeah, we can't all pull double Tinkerbell, James.
Oh no, that was double Tinkerbell, double Maui. Basically, I had the best
Constructed.
constructed sealed deck ever thought of for first chapter. It was
Ah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I
They're
love
like-
that deck.
That was the thing of beauty. It was.
They're going around handing out packs, and they're like, wait, is that the Citizens of Lorcana guy? Yeah, give him the good ones. And they look at me, and they're like, what's that weird logo on his shirt? Give him the bad ones. Doesn't matter.
I survived like 6 turns against your deck, James.
Yeah, you did.
I feel like that was almost like a test of how many turns can you survive. Not can you win, but how many turns can you survive?
It was hilarious because we did the thing. You sit down, you do your packs. I put it together. I'm like, hey, this is a good. I was opening packs like, hey, this is pretty good. So I put it all together, and I know that Heath's like, Mr. Limited. So I see him over there, and I'm like, hey, check this out. And he looks at it, and he's like, I really hope I'm not playing against you. And we see the matchups a few minutes later, like round 1, Heath versus James.
I'm like, let's get it over with. Hey, at least then I had a great 2-1 after that.
And that was like, there was like 300 people in that event.
Yeah.
So that was crazy random.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. Just the best sealed deck I've ever seen.
But needless to say, I went 3-0 going second all 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably could have played best of 9 and still just 9-0. 5-0, 5-0, 5-0.
Yep.
That was a great deck.
All right. Back on track.
Back on track.
No, tangents. Nothing but tangents.
With this
That is
group,
our brand
I had
now.
no idea. No. So I'm curious, we talked a little bit about, building local communities and, things you can do with your LGSs and stuff. So I'm curious on y'all's thoughts about what we can do to help make our community better overall, like, at a larger scale. Because we talked a little bit about the local kind of stuff that you can do, but I know there's places that we as a community can improve. So I'm curious about y'all's thoughts on that.
Be friendly, open, and welcoming. every TCG I have ever played before this one is not super friendly, is not super welcoming. You know, if you can ask a lot, and I don't want to take shots at other TCGs, but most of the other people here have said they know the game. So you can ask most Magic players, and you can walk in, and it is not the most welcoming community right off the bat. It might see like I've had I can't say every community because there was one shop I played at where it's like I walk in and everyone's like, "Oh, hey, how's it going? Oh yeah, come sit down. Oh, you don't know how to play here? I'll show you how to play." But I've also walked in and sat down at those ones and they're like, "Oh, okay, you ready to play? Yeah. All right, cool. I don't know what the card's called, like Lightning Bolt or something like that." And they're like, "That's gone." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I guess that's
Please
gone."
list more cards you think you know for Magic, because that would.
And then they're like, "Counterspell, you can't do that." And I'm like, this
I know it's a few.
I'm like, this sucks. I don't like this.
Sounds like you just need to get good, Benny.
Get good.
So yeah,
Which is something you don't want to do when someone is playing new at your local game store. You want to be more welcoming than telling them to get good.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'll say it feels good when you're playing a TCG and you absolutely crush your opponent into the ground. I will say that. But it feels good when that's one of your buddies that you've been playing for a long time, and he's usually really good and constantly winning, and then you finally have that opportunity where you crush him and you're like, yes, I've finally made it. But when a new person walks in, they're like, "Hi, can I get that starter deck?" And then they're like, "Hey, how's it going? It's my first time playing." And you absolutely decimate them 20-0. You're like, wow, awesome. Thanks for giving me that matchup. I did not enjoy that at all. And I've had nights where I've gone to League and the person's like, "Oh yeah, I don't usually play meta decks." And I'm like, "Okay, here we go." And I'm shuffling. I'm like, "Just so you know, I'm playing green steel. So this is not going to be fun. I'm sorry."
Just so you know, I'm a terrible, terrible man.
And then I play, and I've actually had a person finish the game against me. And I'm like, "I'm sorry for that. I feel like your deck's really good. You're going to have good matchups the rest of the night." And they're like, "Okay, thanks." And then they just pick up their deck and they walked out of the store. And I was like, I said to somebody, I was like, was I not friendly the whole time? Like, yes, I'm playing green steel, but like, I was trying to be as nice as possible. And they're like, no, you were being nice. You weren't a jerk about the win, but they just didn't think their deck was good. And I was like, their deck's good against everybody but me. I'm like, they just need to test it more.
Just do, Benny. It's fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. So in your local store, I don't know. Overall, like for the entire community, there's all you really can do is just try and stay positive. Try and be helpful. Try and make good comments instead of yelling at people or making negative comments or telling people they suck or whatever. I mean, it feels like talking about this is like, let's all talk about common sense, because like, why wouldn't you be nice? Why wouldn't you try and be friendly to someone that comes to a store that you're playing at regularly and want to succeed because you enjoy playing there and have more people to play against and a variety of things? It's like, I don't want to play against the same 10 people every week. I like the variety. I like seeing different things. I don't want to play against the same decks every week, just like I don't want to play the same deck all the time. I want to have some fun. I want to play 2v2 or whatever it is. So, yeah, common sense. Be nice. Ask questions. Chat with them. If you're not the type of person who gets really sociable about that, at the very least, be like, tell them like, this is a really cool place. I really have fun playing here. I hope you do too. If that's the best you can do without and not have a conversation, just make sure they know that you're not. Make sure that they know that this place is a place where they can come and have some fun. That's what the game store is supposed to be. My local game store has been running some things recently, talking about the whole business side of it. And he called a local game store a third place. I guess that's the business term for it. It's third place. It's not your home and it's not your work. It's the third place. It's the place you go to relieve stress, to have fun.
It's the place
And
we go because we're not alcoholics.
exactly.
It's the place you
So-
go to
We don't
lose
go to
all
the
your
bar.
money that you
We
make
go to the
at
game
work.
store.
So if it's that third place for you, why wouldn't you want it to be the best third place it could be? And you need to be a part of that.
The only thing that I'll add to it, because I would say the same thing, is, and this is something that I still am asking questions about and trying to learn more and trying to be better at, is recognize that unfortunately TCGs are a place that have notoriously been unwelcoming for minorities, underrepresented groups. Quite frankly, look at this group that we have amassed here today. This is the atypical representation in TCGs, and I think our community has done a great job of moving beyond that and being more welcoming than that. But I still hear, unfortunately, horror stories of negative experiences in that vein, and I think there's a lot of content creators that have shone a light on it, have done a great job about speaking to it. And so I think the best thing that you can do is just keep asking, what can I do to be a better ally, to be welcoming, to recognize maybe the things that I'm not aware of that might turn people away or make them feel unwelcome, that maybe I don't know that would make them feel unwelcome. So ask questions and learn more about that, because I think that's an area that even now we can do more on to grow the community.
Nice. Well, guys, we've been talking for a while. I'm trying to think if there was any other things I wanted to touch on. Oh, yes, there is one thing. So I am always curious, especially for folks that have experience with other games. In the future of Lorcana, what would you like to see and not like to see, as far as, like, game mechanics or things in the community, honestly, events, anything like that?
You guys do it.
More side events.
More side events.
Okay.
Just more side events nonstop all the time. Side events. I want to see, like these guys were saying, multiplayer stuff like that. I kind of want to see that grow more. I just want to see it continue to grow. I want to see it to continue to grow, continue to thrive. But I don't want to see any toxicity coming in. I just want it to be a nice, happy, friendly little place. Little piece of the Magic Kingdom, or the happiest place on Earth outside of the happiest place on Earth.
James, I'm gonna make you go next again, because I feel like I talk too much as it is.
All right. So I would like to see, I don't know, I just want to see the game continue to grow so that I can keep playing it and it sticks around, because I do have such a good time playing the game and being a part of the community. So that's the main thing. It's just like whatever that looks like going forward, which kind of goes with what I don't want to see, is I understand that Ravensburger is a company, and Disney that owns Lorcana is a very large company. But the game was created, I think we can all tell the game was created with a lot of love. And I do not want the corporateness of the people that own it to squash the love of the creators of the game, to where we don't get the absurdness of 5 puns in one flavor text for the Mickey BLT, or the thematicness of the glass slipper, even though it's a horrible card. I want them to keep putting in things like that, fun stuff that shows that they care so much about creating this game that is both thematic to the Disney lore and the Disney characters, and also really fun to play and really engaging to play, and really forces people to actually think to play this game. However much they want to engage with it, that level is available to them, and that is a tall task. And so far, I feel like they've been hitting it pretty well, and I just hope that they are allowed to keep doing that. So that's what I want, is for Disney and Ravensburger to realize that the game was created with some of that Disney magic, and to let them continue doing it.
Nice. My want is selfish. I want more limited representation in the game. I want a limited set champs. I want a limited DLC. I want worlds to be a combination of constructed and limited. For anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about, we've alluded to it a few times, but I don't think we've actually clarified. Limited equals draft, sealed, opening packs and building decks. Yeah, I mean, technically even Pack Rush is limited, but specifically draft is my love, but I could accept a sealed, more competitive events for that. So that's what I would love to see, and I think it'll come eventually. I've talked to enough developers that love limited as well that I think it'll get in there eventually. It's just a matter of, and I don't blame them, sort out constructed first, because that's the heart of the game. So make sure, get your house in order for constructed, and then expand over time to include more limited. So I want to see that. My don't want to see is technically just another want to see, but I guess you could qualify that about anything, which is to see, I don't want this to always be an eternal format, which is to say I do want to at some point see a rotation. I think that eventually you just get a glut of too many cards with too many combinations that you can't foresee. For the developers, it limits them when they always have to worry about, does it die to Medusa? Does it die to Brawl? When they always have to worry about, what's this going to combine with that was 8 sets ago that I've forgotten about, that nobody plays right now. So I think a healthy dynamic will eventually be a rotation. Unfortunately, it affects the financials of the game, which I know is in their kind of DNA, that they don't want this to be an expensive game to play. And when you have rotations, it affects the finances of the game. So they'll have to really consider the impact of that and how they mitigate that. But at the end of the day, if we want this game to last 5 years, 10 years, I don't think 5 years from now that we could have everything be legal and not just have it be kind of a quagmire. So sorry to all our non-rotation fans out there, but
no, I mean, honestly, it makes sense. You know, I mean, you get, even now, like, you know, what, 7 sets in, we just have so many cards, and I have no idea how they keep it all straight. I mean, there's just so many, you know, obviously we have standouts, right? That are going to be easy to say, okay, we need to worry about the interaction with this particular card that's, you know, really stuck around a lot since first chapter or whatever. But yeah, there's just so many cards, and I have the utmost respect for the Ravensburger folks to be able to actually think about that stuff as they're making these cards, because I don't know how they keep track, honestly, but I'm glad they do. And I'm glad they're open to correcting stuff too. You know, it's not just like, oh, well, the community will just deal with it. We printed it. Who cares? You know?
No.
I wish we had some standouts.
I actually made a video when first chapter first came out, like a 5-minute video on why Ariel Spectacular Singer is the perfect representation of why we will eventually need rotation. Because cards like her, cards like Oswald, that benefit from a certain type of card in the game, the more we have of those, the more that a card like that will get better. Now, it'll ebb and flow, but if there's 200 songs in the game, eventually it's going to be too good. Eventually, if we've got, you know, we've only got one crazy item that Oswald can bring out right now. If we get more items that are 6, 7, 8 cost in the game, all of a sudden Oswald becomes too good. All right. So either we just ban a bunch of cards or we have rotations.
James, do you want to tell Jared that he said we should ban Oswald?
Hopefully that won't be the last Oswald card that ever exists.
Nice. Well, cool, guys. Well, hey, thanks for sitting down and chatting with me tonight. I really appreciate it. I had a great time talking with y'all. I hope y'all had fun too.
Yeah.
So I want to end with the same 3 questions that I ask everybody. We'll go around the room here. First off, start off with favorite ink and card, and that could be
Favorite ink,
favorite card to play or favorite art or whatever you want to do.
favorite ink. I think I answered this on some other time recently. Amethyst, and it is currently it may change like in 10 minutes, but it currently is Elsa Fifth Spirit because I get to play with the card because it's a very good card, and I get to play Matt, and the art is awesome. So it's just the perfect combination. But like in second place is always going to be some form of Goofy card,
Nice.
just because I love Goofy. So that's it.
Cool.
I'm gonna go with Ruby because I like the aggression that it has and like the leeching their lore. Because I kind of want more of that in that color. And then I'd say Aladdin Heroic Outlaw. And I just love Aladdin, love the artwork. I'd say the runner-up would be Sapphire with the Robin Hood that John Lauren did in set 1. That was part of the D23. Like those two cards, oh, beautiful. John Lauren, Nicholas Cole, just absolutely killing it.
Weren't you just complaining like 20 minutes ago about getting too many Aladdins, and now all of a sudden it's your favorite card?
I have 2 enchanted ones.
Favorite ink, going back to the first chapter. Fact of the matter is, gentlemen, I like to draw cards. Amethyst is and has been my favorite color. My friend Dan from the Forbidden Mountain, when first chapter first came out, he had his Battle of the Inks, and I fought hard to be on Team Amethyst. Like, I gotta preach the good word about Amethyst. And at that time, it wasn't a very popular color. There was only 2 of us that were on Team Amethyst. And I said, you know what? Amethyst isn't the best color right now, the best ink color right now, but it is the best support color, bar none, because every deck wants to draw cards. So you just wait, I said at the time, Nostradamus that I was. Amethyst will be the most popular color in time. And I think to some degree we're seeing that play out and have over the last few sets. So Amethyst, favorite. Ironically enough, I'm going to have to stick with it, even though I haven't played it in ages and nobody has. My favorite card, and it might be forever, is Maleficent Sorceress, for the sheer reason that I just love good value. It's the limited player in me, just basic value. A 3-cost 2/2 draw card, that makes me happy. I like Maleficent as a character. The art's classic, but more than anything, it's just the fact a simple 2/2 body with draw card attached makes me happy. So that was the card that I loved at first. I would say second to that would be like Friends on the Other Side, because just free draw cards is something else that makes me happy. But yeah, Maleficent Sorceress for some reason.
Nice. Cool. All right. Next question. Favorite Disney movie and why?
You trying to like get into our psyches here.
No, he's just getting the answers to our banking questions.
Well, yeah.
This is the data
I used to
collection
not
portion
ask
of
the why part,
podcast.
and it wasn't nearly as interesting. So yeah. But
Oh man, right now I'm pretty sure it's still going to be Frozen, and because it made me cry. It's you get so, for me at least, I got so engaged with the characters that it was an emotional movie, and I think it hit me like the first at the same way, at least the first 3 times I saw the movie. So any movie that can do that, it's got to be tops right now.
nice.
Heath, you want to go? Mine's a bit longer.
Okay, yeah, mine's actually relatively brief. I'm gonna hit you with 2 because I can be quick with both, because I've got 2 for 2 different reasons. My favorite movie in terms of like theme and character and all that is Alice in Wonderland, because I'm chaotic and crazy, and I very much emulate Cheshire Cat, Mad Hatter, all of them. So that's the thematic one. Sentimentality, you want to talk about crying? The first 10 minutes of Up, wrecks me every single
Oh.
time.
Yes.
And the rest of it's just delightful, right? It's a joyful film, but that first 10 minutes, man. Also, my wife and I walked down the aisle to Marriage Song. That's in the first 10 minutes there. Also, one of the theme musics for Disneyland for walking down Main Street. So,
Yep.
All right. Well, for me, it depends on when you ask me. And today, I'm going to say Aladdin. Why? The whole movie, he's got a good heart. Like, yes, he does some questionable things. He steals some bread and yada yada. But I mean, he gives it to those little poor orphan kids in the alley.
I mean, I would argue
So-
it's the lying that's the.
Oh, lying to Jasmine.
Yeah.
But he does have a good heart. It's not always, he does some questionable things, but his heart is in the right place. So yeah, for me also though, runners up are Robin Hood, Goofy Movie, and Treasure Planet. I guess the biggest thing for me is just lovable scamps. You gotta love the rogues. That's all. That's what I go for.
You are definitely a lovable scamp yourself, so that makes sense.
That's how I live my life. I live my life as a lovable scamp and 1/4 mile at a time.
Aladdin's right up there for me as well. How can you say no to Robin Williams, man?
Oh,
I mean,
so good.
Well, cool. All right. Well, and the last question: where can people find y'all on the podcast?
You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, X, Instagram, our Discord, pretty much any other any other podcast platform is what I meant to say there. And yeah, usually
the
one of us
name?
is
You can find us where, but at what name?
at the name Overexerted, a Disney Lorcana podcast.
There you go.
There you go. Got to get the branding right?
There you go. There you go.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. It has
Yeah,
been a
thanks for
blast.
being on. I really appreciate y'all taking the time to talk with me. And
course.
yeah, we'll see you around the community.
Yep.
Yeah, we chewed your ear off all night.
Hey, no, I love it. I love talking with folks, so don't worry.
Perfect.
Thanks for joining me for my chat with the hosts of the Overexerted Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you heard, make sure to like, rate, and subscribe on your platform of choice. You can find out more information about the show at LorcanaChats.com, or you can reach us at LorcanaChats@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.